Hey, what's up? It's Tony Wiggins with Locked On Jaguars here on a Tuesday. This last year was not a total loss. I'll explain what I mean by that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jags, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's going on, good people? We thank you for joining us here on Locked On Jaguars, making us your first listen of the day. And it is your team every day, and reminding you that we are free on all platforms. Bear with me. My voice is still kind of, and I still have a little shortness of breath, and my voice is still a little bit off, but we're going to do the best we can and give you a good show here today. The thing that I want to talk about was how, as bad as things have been this past year, and a lot of that was due to heightened expectations, and of course the disappointment surrounding the record. First of all, the fact that the team is right back to the point where they're picking number one overall. They're the worst team in the league at 3-14. All of the drama surrounding Urban Meyer and Trent Baalke, and the continued disappointment that the fan base has had and continues to have with owner Shad Khan, with the way that he has led or not led this team over his tenure here as the owner of the Jaguars. The one thing that I did come away with when looking back at this past season is it's not all lost. And I know folks are going to look at me like I'm crazy when I say that it could be a lot worse. And the reason why it could be a lot worse is because we did eventually get to and find out some things about some people and some players that's going to be key moving forward. And we'll discuss that. Let's go back, though, to 2020. 2020 obviously was a weird year in a lot of ways, on and off the football field for a lot of people. But in 2020, when the Jaguars drafted C.J. Henderson and Caleb Von Chasen, you didn't go into 2021 thinking that they added anything of value in that draft and free agency period between 2020 and 21. The thing that they did was that was real valuable was they stunk. And by stinking and by not being very good and only winning one football game, that put them in a position to draft Trevor Lawrence and to have a boatload of salary cap space. So the addition by subtraction was that even though the team was epically bad, that they emptied out, the cupboard and left room, if you will, for new pieces to be brought in, and had the money to go out and get it. So the optimism going into last season was because it was a clean slate, because it was a fresh start. For the most part, it was a clean slate. They still had Trent Baalke, but it's just that it was going to be a new beginnings and somebody with a different attitude, and Urban Meyer, who always talked about winning and was going to be super aggressive. But personnel-wise, you didn't see, and you didn't have a reason to be optimistic. I don't think that's the case this time with this year. And of course, the obvious thing is to talk about Trevor Lawrence and the fact that, look, he got that 1 year, that rookie year, that bad season. He got that, he got that under his belt. He's gone out here and he's shown you that he's not afraid. And even though statistically he's not very good, it's still, I don't think it leaves a bad taste in your mouth about him, about his prospects, about what it is that he can bring to this organization moving forward. And I still believe he's a part of the reason why this is an attractive job for a lot of people, because I think people would want to work with him. And I think they've seen enough that they know that there's some things that they could do with him to help make him a franchise quarterback and change his team around. So Trevor isn't the only thing that is something to look forward to. Now, in 2020, you also did have James Robinson, who was an undrafted free agent. James Robinson was a piece that everyone said, okay, this is a positive in terms of personnel-wise. Nothing in free agency. Nothing in free agency this year either, and we'll go over that in segment 2. But I wanted to just set this first segment up by letting you guys know that as much as I hate admitting it, whether it be Trent Baalke or whether it be Urban Meyer or whoever was responsible for it, something actually did get accomplished. Other than Trevor Lawrence being embattled and going out here and playing through a lot of adversity. There were a lot of things that actually did. And I'm not talking about the accidental things either. I'm not talking about things that are byproducts of the dysfunction. I mean, there were actually things that did that will, and it is hard for me to get this out because I got to give somebody credit for it. And it's either somebody who we don't want to be here or somebody who's already gone. But there are some things, and I'm going to discuss them. I'm going to tell you exactly what they are. I'm going to start out with segment 2, and then we're going to look at the free agency, and then we'll look at in segment 3 what do they have to do differently this year, and how do they have to move in terms of offseason acquisitions, and whether or not a new coach, whoever that might be, will make that a lot easier. We'll discuss it. I don't want to give it all away, but we'll discuss it here in just a second in segment number 2 on a Tuesday edition of Locked On Jaguars. BetOnline would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the number one spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. New year and a new updated desktop and mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code Locked On to get started. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline is where the game starts. And you start here with us every day on Locked On Jaguars and making us your first listen, and we are very, very grateful. Reminder that we are free on all platforms, and we're on YouTube also. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. We're talking about things, tangible things that actually did happen that we can actually be proud of or look at as positives for the Jaguars. Now, I know the year was such a disaster. It's hard to find anything that is something that you can say, hey, this is a good thing, right? This is a good thing. We other than the fact that we already got Trevor Lawrence's rookie year out of the way, and that even after 1 year, Shad realizes that we needed to move in a different direction, and he did not prolong it. So all of those things are good things that are byproduct of bad things happening, and then they're making the best of the situation. I do believe, though, that in the draft, it took a while, but they figured out that Walker Little might be able to play. And if you think Walker Little can really help you out under a rookie deal at left tackle, that saves you a bunch of money that you don't have to go out and pay, say, a Teron Armstead or another franchise tag on Cam Robinson. If what we saw at the end of the year, the last 2 or 3 games, is an indication, it means that there's probably enough improvement in Walker Little's play that you could probably be able to roll with it and put him out at left tackle. At the very least, maybe play him a little bit at right tackle, but he looks like a guy that once he got his footing up underneath him and got a chance to play, that, he's the goods on the offensive line. Not saying he's great, but that he is somebody that can develop into something that's really, really positive for the Jaguars. Another second-round pick, the one that was picked at the top, Tyson Campbell. I was very critical of that choice. Tyson Campbell looks like a guy who's going to play forever in the NFL because of his athletic profile. Tyson Campbell was a very, very good pick by the Jaguars, and I was not one of those who thought that was a great pick early, but that was a great, great choice. It appears that Travis Etienne is going to make a 100% recovery. He could have run. He said he could have probably come back last year. And if that's the case, then you have a versatile and dynamic pass catcher at running back. And I know a lot of people didn't want a running back taken last year, but now that James Robinson has ruptured his Achilles, they're going to need Travis Etienne, and they're probably going to need another running back too, because I don't know if Robinson will be ready or if he'll be the same when he does decide or when his body decides that he's ready to come back. So looking at those things, and then the late season development of Andre Cisco, it appears that the thing that the Jaguar fans were clamoring for this entire time, once Andre Cisco got on the field, it was like, well, where's this been this whole time? Now, I got to warn you guys now, Cisco not playing was Joe Cullen's idea. And Joe Cullen can do no wrong when it comes to the fans. So I just wonder sometimes how fans really want to negotiate the fact that the one guy that they actually did like from the coaching staff a lot, Joe Cullen, was the guy who was really responsible for spoon feeding, if you will, Andre Cisco and not putting him on the field early, and not actually throwing him out there to the wolves. And they kept going with Dewey Wingard. So you sometimes you got to put it on the person that you actually like, in Joe Cullen. I don't know if Joe Cullen's going to still be retained by the new coaching staff, but I do believe that Andre Cisco showed flashes down the stretch. He's just a guy who's around the ball and he's a playmaker. So when you look at it, you have Trevor Lawrence, you have Travis Etienne, who haven't seen yet, but you anticipate will be able to get some things done. You have a big physical corner in Tyson Campbell. You have your starting left tackle, and you have a free safety who has range and who can be disruptive in the middle of the field. All is not lost on this past season. That's a lot. That's what you want to actually carry over. You got 5 legitimate players, and then if you add in Jamal Agnew, who played well in his special teams role and also gave you a little bit of pop on offense, all isn't lost. Now, that's not enough because they had so much cap space and so many draft picks. It would seem like that they would actually do more than that. And also the way that they decided to slow play the development of those players really made, everyone around here uneasy and did not make people feel like they were making the proper progress. And that's why everybody wanted everybody gone. So, and while it's not a lot, and while it's not enough and it's not adequate, it is better than the year before where all you had was James Robinson and a hope in CJ Henderson and a hope in Kayvon Chason, who still hasn't developed. And of course, CJ isn't here anymore. But you now, I always talk about stringing these off seasons together. Well, you actually have some stuff you can carry over. They were talking about cap space yesterday, how the Jaguars were carrying over $25 million. You also have to be able to carry over production, because at some point you want to make sure you're adding something to something. You don't want to just keep starting at ground zero and never allowing this progress to elevate to anything. So at the very least, the Jaguars have some foundational pieces now. They have to do a little bit more. I also think they need to trim some of the fat. I think a lot of the stuff that they got in free agency over the last couple of years, it's not going to stick. I'm going to tell you guys who I think and believe the Jaguars should make sure that they go out of their way to retain while they're adding guys from around the league. And I'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. I want to tell you guys about TurboTax. TurboTax is the absolute truth, and it is where you need to go to make sure that your taxes are done properly. Make sure you go to TurboTax.com and check out all of the extras that they have. And you know what? Don't try to do that stuff yourself, man. They have a staff of people that's going to be able to help you out and be able to get that done. So make sure that you go to TurboTax for all of your tax needs. Don't try to do it alone. Don't try to go at it by yourself, man, because TurboTax, they have professionals for that stuff, and they can help you out as much as TurboTax. Make sure you tune in to TurboTax.com for all of your tax needs. All right, Locked On Jaguars here on a Tuesday. It's not Thursday yet. I'm so lethargic, man. I'm forgetting what days are what days here. We thank you for making us your first listen every single day here on Locked On Jaguars. Bear with me. I haven't been feeling well as of late. I'm trying to overcome this COVID-19. Did test positive. My wife and I tested positive, and it seems like every time I get better, I get worse. It's like a roller coaster. So we'll see if we can get to the point where we can start feeling better more consistently, and my voice will come back and my stamina will come back and all of that stuff. But um, what do the Jaguars need to do? They're going to have to make a decision on some guys that they need to retain early. Um, I don't know if he's a free agent. I think he might be, but I really like the Jaguars to make sure that they take care of Adam Gostis, because I think for a big 300-pound guy, 6'4", 6'5", he's disruptive. He plays the run well. He lines up in multiple fronts, and I think he causes a tremendous amount of problems. I don't think it's going to even take that much money to make sure that he's able to be retained. Dewan Smoot, I think Smoot's the kind of guy you don't want to get away, because you'll see Smoot playing for another team making $5-6 million a year, and he'll be a very integral part of what they do, especially a winning team. And I think he plays winning football with his effort. I think he is one of those guys who really, really, he's just a football playing dude, man. He keeps his head down, and every time that they need him, he's not a superstar, but he's a guy that continuously makes plays. So I would look for the Jaguars to make sure that they retain those guys. The elephant in the room is DJ Chark, and what do you do with him? I think it depends who they hire as the head coach and who the offensive coordinator or the wide receivers coach is. If Keenan McCardell ends up back here in some way, I would suspect that he might stand on the table for DJ. I don't think the Jaguars are good enough to just assume that they can just move on from DJ Chark, and especially depending on what else is in free agency. I do believe, though, that he's worth it. He's worth maybe a 1-year deal, a prove-it deal to see if he can stay healthy. The issue is he's not a slot guy. So if he is going to be one of the guys you use resources and spend money on the outside, when you go into the draft free agency and you start drafting other guys that are outside guys, eventually you're going to get to the point where you ain't going to have that slot guy unless you're plan on using a 3rd-round pick on Wan'Dale Robinson, or using Jamal Agnew in that role when he comes back. I don't know, but that's going to be one of those things that are tough that you have to figure out. But whatever the Jaguars got to do, I think they need to hurry up and make sure they get a personnel person in here that has done everything that they need to do in terms of evaluating their own team. If they totally flip the personnel side of the house and Trent Baalke isn't around, that's going to give a very short window for whoever comes in here to really evaluate the guys that are up for free agency. And it's just going to make everything more and more difficult. That's why I want this. I thought the Jaguars, because of where they were in the process, that they would be able to get ahead of it and not make this offseason so limited, because they were able to get ahead of it. But obviously, they may name their coach after or around the same time a lot of other people do. A lot of momentum for Byron Leftwich right now. The thing is though, he's also interviewing in Chicago. So there are other jobs that are very, very attractive. The Justin Fields situation is just as attractive in a lot of people's minds as the Trevor Lawrence situation. I know the weather's worse, but still, he looked good. He looked very, very good. I'm not saying he looked as good as Trevor. I don't want to start that debate or that discussion, but there are a lot of people that I heard. Lou Riddick says it's an attractive a job as anyone out there because of Justin Fields. There are a lot of people that actually like what Justin Fields brings to the table. It depends. A lot depends on who they hire, what coach they hire, what GM they want to bring in, and all of those things. So we'll just have to see. And like I said, I appreciate you guys bearing with me, man. I had to give you some content today. We don't feel well, but hopefully we'll get this thing beat sooner or later. And before you make your wagers, make sure you go to tune into the Locked On Bets podcast, the Locked On Bets podcast with your boy Q and Lee Sterling. They're going to make sure you get every single thing that you need every day, all of the information, especially before these playoff games, who's going to play, who's not, and all of the matchups. The Bucs have a lot of people out, and they're going to host the Rams. So we're going to have to just see if you can go to Locked On Bets and get all the information from Lee Sterling and your boy Q before you go make your wagers. You guys keep taking care of each other. keep enjoying the playoffs. I know it seems like the Jaguars got a long, long way to go, and they do, but pay attention to this coaching search and this coaching situation, because I think things are real fluid coming this weekend, and we're going to start seeing some names start to drop. Until next time, take care. This is your man Tony Wiggins here with Locked On Jaguars.